Have you ever thought of being an organ donor upon your passing? I know I have. According to the class survey, 45% of you also have. I signed the back of my driver's license as well as made my family aware of my wishes. Last year, I became aware that a friend of mine had end-stage renal failure and was in need of a kidney. He was put on the waiting list for a kidney from the deceased donor, which according to the website kidneylink.org, the average wait time for a kidney from a deceased donor is 3 to 5 years depending on the blood type. My friend would remain on the waiting list as well as dialysis until a kidney became available from a deceased donor, or a family member or friend could be tested to see if they're a match. I was tested thinking there's no way he and I would ever be a match, but I like to live by the motto, do unto others, so I was tested. Much to my surprise, on December 11, 2012, I received a call from the donor coordinator to ask if we were related because we were a near-perfect match. I thought that the process would be very fast, and the next step would be surgery to remove my kidney and donate it to my friend. I was wrong. I would like to describe to you a little of the process of being a living donor, what medical tests are involved, what the complications and benefits are of being a living donor, as well as the financial impacts. Finding out that I was a match to donate a kidney was just the beginning. There's a whole battery of tests that need to be performed to find out if I was even healthy enough to actually donate, starting with a complete physical. Once I was cleared by my physician, the next step is a 24-hour urine collection. It sounds pretty gross, but it is necessary. The 24-hour collection is to test kidney function as well as to measure certain products in the urine. After the urine collection is examined and approved by the doctor, I was told to schedule an appointment with the lab for blood work. Several vials of blood are taken and tested for diseases such as cancer, HIV, hepatitis, and other transmittable diseases. Each test takes about a week to get the results before the next tests can be scheduled. When the results of my blood work came back fine, I needed to schedule an appointment with a social worker. Being physically healthy is important for being a donor as well as being mentally healthy. After a lengthy discussion with the social worker, they'll decide if the kidney is being donated for the right reason, as well as be a form of support for the donor. Social worker can either approve the donation process to continue or deny the continuation. Upon approval, more medical tests are scheduled. An EKG is performed to make sure that the heart is healthy enough for surgery. Also, chest x-ray to evaluate the lungs, CT scan of the abdomen and pelvis to ensure that everything is working as it should. When all the medical tests are done and the donor is deemed healthy enough to donate, a meeting is set up with the surgeon and a surgery date is given. Living donation is one of the only surgical procedures that there's no physical benefit to the donor, although studies have shown the donor has an increased self-esteem and feeling of well-being after donation. There have been reports of negative feelings and depression if the donated kidney is rejected by the recipient. Since medical screening is so extensive, some donors have benefited from early detection of diseases such as cancer. There are benefits in the recipient from having a live donor instead of a deceased donor. The major benefit is that the patient is no longer on dialysis. The surgery can be scheduled when it's convenient for both the donor and the recipient, as opposed to being scheduled immediately upon the passing of a deceased donor. With living donation, the kidney generally functions immediately, making it easier to monitor. Some non-living donor kidneys don't function immediately, and it requires dialysis until that kidney starts functioning again. The risks associated with donating a kidney are the same as with any other surgery. There are risks associated with anesthesia and surgery in general. According to Living Donation, important information you need to know, a pamphlet published by the United Network for Organ Sharing in 2013, the risks include pain, infection, blood loss, requiring blood transfusions, blood clots, allergic reaction to anesthesia, pneumonia, and injury to the surrounding tissue and organs, and even death. According to the class survey, there was a 50-50 split on whether you believe that organ donation should be compensated. The National Transplant Act of 1984 made it illegal to financially compensate a donor for an organ. The financial impacts on the donor are probably the greatest. The donor should have some type of medical insurance. Although the costs of testing are covered by Medicare or the recipient's insurance, if the testing should find something such as cancer, the recipient's insurance will not cover it. The testing to find out if you're a match, as well as other medical testing, is time consuming, and oftentimes the donor is required to take off of work to have these procedures done. The time that the donor takes off of work is not compensated unless the donor has vacation time or personal time with work. According to the United States Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division website, the Family Medical Leave Act entitles eligible employees to take unpaid job-protected leave for specified family and medical reasons with continuation of group health insurance coverage under the same terms and conditions as if the employee had not taken leave. Although 90% of you think that living organ donors should be covered under FMLA, voluntary organ donation is not covered. Excuse me, I have had friends who have had breast augmentation surgery, and somehow that's covered under FMLA, but choosing to donate an organ to help the well-being of someone else is not covered. Since organ donation is not covered, it's at the discretion of the employer as to whether or not the donor can take the time off that's needed for the donation and recovery. Essentially, a donor could lose their job for deciding to donate an organ. It's a good idea for the donor to have a savings plan or savings account to cover the time off that they're going to need to take from work. I am fortunate enough to work for a company who is very supportive and is willing to give me the time off that I need. They're going to give me 12 weeks unpaid as if it was covered under FMLA, although it's not covered. It's also a good idea for the donor to have life insurance, and medical insurance in case anything should come up from that. But after the surgery, it's found that a lot of donors have a hard time keeping their medical insurance, obtaining medical insurance, or getting life insurance due to the donation. About 73% of you have said that if someone you knew was in need of a kidney and they were a match, they would donate. It has been approximately 6 months since I began this journey to find out if I was a match to donate a kidney to a friend. In about 6 weeks, I'll be going under the knife in hopes for a healthy life for my friend, a life that he enjoyed prior to being sick. I have had a hard time explaining to family and friends my decision to donate. I've gotten many questions such as, what if one of your kids needs a kidney later in life? Why? He's not even related to you. What happens if if your remaining kidney fails? And the best came from my mother. Does he know that if he has our genes in him, he'll have blonde curly hair? These are all questions I thought about, and probably a million more. And I cannot explain why this is what I've chosen other than living by the motto, do unto others. I can say that I'm scared. There are many unknowns, and recovery is going to be painful and long. But even with the medical testing, knowing all the risks and benefits, and knowing that financially I'll probably be drained after this whole procedure, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is the gift that I would hope someone would be willing to give me if I was in that situation.